This is the Impulsive Thinker podcast, a show for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs. Together, we will inform and educate you about how to improve your self-awareness while developing systems, routines, and habits for conquering the entrepreneurial world. Here is your host, André Brisson.
Hey there, have you ever found yourself constantly jumping from one urgent task to another, feeling overwhelmed and stressed? Well, today I'll share my recent experience with managing urgency and the strategies I use to stay in control and prioritize effectively. So, last couple of weeks has been quite the shit show here at my engineering company. The partner left, followed very quickly with the staff members. So basically leading to an overwhelming workload. And then, with all that, the urgency from the clients, it always happens, right? Things don't go well. That's when everyone decides to want things now when they had all the months and the weeks before. So there's a lot of pressure coming from that. I won't deny that the pressure also has a lot to do with being overwhelmed right now, basically having 5 projects down to 80 and not getting complete honesty of where the status of the project was. But at the same time, too, with the ADHD brain, we have an interest-based nervous system, correct? So when things are interesting, challenging, or competitive, novel, and urgent, that's when our brain really fires up and really likes to do the stuff. And I find that when we're doing a lot of mundane tasks or doing things, and that interest-based nervous system will kick in. And a lot of times I think urgency will help us jump from one thing to another. And if impulsivity is high on your spectrum of ADHD scale, it's a very challenging thing to not jump from one thing to another. A more urgent thing versus what I just and I already took care of an urgency right now. But this one's more urgent, so I'm going to replace it. And I kind of knew it going in that I'm going to have a lot of challenges with my impulsivity and with the interest-based nervous system, that I'm going to have to do a lot of stuff, menial, relearning stuff that we should have done, especially when the project should have been done a long time ago, and controlling those emotions so that I wouldn't get overwhelmed and get burnt out. So I was really cognizant on how to use my mental energy effectively. So I just remember this one email the other day coming in. It's all fairness of the client. Their client is putting pressure on them to get stuff quicker and quickly. And then it comes to me and they're urgent and needed this because everything's going to stop on the job site if they don't get it done. What the hell? Let's get going. And I felt my body go, oh, yeah, I got to take care of this now and go, go, go. In a way, I caught my impulsivity because it was a body reaction first, actually. It wasn't cognitively or consciously me saying, oh, we got to do it. It was my body going on, getting, standing on at attention and getting ready to go. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. No, I can't do this one right now because actually he had another urgent thing I was taking care of. And there's a couple other things legally and accounting-wise I had to take care of before that. And then it hit me that, man, I was actually consciously stopping, jumping to an urgent thing, which was a little more interesting because it was something new and how can I solve this quickly? But all in the sense is I figured out why I actually caught myself is because now I kind of got in a habit over the last few months, because this has been an issue going the last few months, that I really couldn't plan what the day was going to be like or how I can execute things because I just didn't know when things would come on my plate, either be it via the lawyers, via the banking, the projects, the clients, and the outgoing staff. So what I realized what I was doing is I show up in the morning, I just take a whole assessment of everything, where every project was at, every request that was asked, any new emails that came in. I have an ongoing to-do list that I have to keep things visible. And it's on one sheet and I strike out. And if it's getting too cumbersome, then I transfer it over. So I take a look at all that and I start looking at, okay, what is the priority that must be done and taken care of first? And I'm not even careful. I'm not using the term urgent in this case because I don't want to get it mixed up with the ADHD brain requiring the urgency. I was prioritizing the things that needed to be done now or first and prioritizing that was important for the outcome. Okay. That helped me set up the day. Then as the day came on and when more urgency stuff came in or changes, then I was actually looking back on my list and see, does this prioritize, can this replace another priority? So I was having that visual. It was visual, not my head. I got to keep it out of the head, remember, so that we can see it and it comes in differently that way. Then it hit me later that I was doing that very well. So I just accepted. I was trying to fight it, but I was fighting. Oh, you know what? No, that's how everyone else does it. We were supposed to sit down, do your to-do list, follow the to-do list. But you know what? My Colby follow-through to does not work that way. My ADHD brain does not work that way. And right now, because I don't know what's going to come in 2 minutes or 2 hours, I can't sit down and waste time to plan. I'm figuring out the ADHD brain is all about the now, dealing with the now, and actioning now. Because we're moving quicker. If I'm going to spin my wheels in executive functioning differences, and with my time blindness affecting the way I see things, as I see it differently time, I'd just be there planning. As something else came in, replan. I got to do things now, and I'm going. Talking with a couple other friends of mine, it hit me that there's a difference. I guess I was doing this subconsciously, but I didn't have the words for it. So what I was doing, because I have jumped on other emails that came in and I used the term urgency. That's more urgent, so I'll do it. But actually it was that priority is now higher than the other priorities. But why? Why was that urgent email higher priority than the other stuff I just decided was higher priority early in the day? One word, emergency. It was an emergency. So there's a difference between urgency and emergency. So I'm actually looking at this email now going, oh, it's urgent. They want to get this done on their end, which is fine. That's their prerogative. But is this an emergency? No. I go to my priority list. Does this urgency have a higher priority now over the other stuff that needs to be done? Yes or no? And that was very easy for me now to discern the difference. Urgent requests from clients, phone calls, calling back, doing site visits. Is it an emergency or is it simply an urgency? And once I was able to separate the two, my ADHD brain was now saying, well, that's not really urgent anymore. So it's now losing interest and I can get back to what I was focusing on and what I prioritized that needed to be done and be more present to get that stuff done. So that's the way I was doing with the emails and even with the requests. Like even today, I got a phone call from a really pissed off supplier, and that was an emergency situation, not just urgency. So I called him right away and dealt it through some historical stuff, worked it out, saved that relationship. But that was an emergency because if he was continually upset, he would tell our great customers about it. And it was a little more urgent because it was an emergency. So I think that's the other thing too, is we got to a certain extent, we have to hold back from urgency. And sometimes looking at it as an emergency versus an urgency can help us differentiate if it's something we need to take action on now or put it on a list to do later. And it helps us to be a lot more conscious about that decision making and will help calm down or settle down our impulsivity to jump and go from one thing to another and say, yeah, I touched like 200 things today, but I got 0 done. Versus I got 3 major things done today because I didn't jump around because I only dealt with the emergencies or what was on my priority list. I think that's another discussion too. Priorities versus emergencies and urgencies is a different thing. But as long as we sit down, we can see what needs to be done and assess what has to be prioritized that day. Again, just pick the 3, put it on that focus maximizer. Then you got something you can go on, and then you can assess if this is more important or not. No, sorry, wrong term, because important is I think that's a differentiator. It's not necessarily it's important. Us is what is the higher priority, and I think importance and priority is a different conversation, and there's a difference there that helps the ADHD brain figure stuff out. We prioritize. Now, I know that's a fact finder thing as well. We're really good at prioritizing, but I think everyone can prioritize to a certain extent to the point where any Colby MO can prioritize anything and differentiate the emergency versus urgency and then look at the priority list. I think we can easily get our day under control and more focused and to get stuff done, and just get a handle on that impulsivity. So that's the one thing I really realized over the last few months with this restarting of objective engineering is me assessing urgency and emergency, then comparing it to the priority list I was doing, and not sitting the next day and planning out the next week or two. It was assess what needs to be done now, get it done, move on, because there's more. I know in a month it's going to get calmer, it's going to get better once everyone is onboarded and I got a handle on the projects. But right now, this is what I got to do, because now I can act now. I'm going to act quicker without having to plan out the next 4, 5, 6 weeks, which honestly, I can't see beyond in a week and a half because of my time blindness. So what do you think about that? Urgency versus emergency? Let me know. André at tacticalbts.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.
The ADHD transformation program has launched and it's working. Clients are saying it's changed their lives and I am their ADHD hack. So go to tacticalbts.com/ATJP for more information. I want you to join and learn your own ADHD vocabulary and to learn that you're not stupid and we can make you work effectively.
Thank you for listening to the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for the show, please visit theimpulsivethinker.com. The Impulsive Thinker podcast is produced by Tactical Breakthroughs and hosted by André Brisson. Remember, ADHD is only a part of you, not all of you.